The Thompson family lived in a quiet and peaceful suburban neighborhood. Their home was filled with warmth, laughter, and the kind of small joys that make ordinary life feel magical. Emma and David Thompson were young parents full of hope and love, and their 6-month-old daughter, Lily, was the center of their world. She had bright eyes that seemed to sparkle with curiosity, tiny fingers that grasped everything with eagerness, and a sweet, gentle laugh that could melt anyone's heart. Every day was filled with little moments of happiness. Feeding Lily, reading her bedtime stories, watching her explore the living room floor as she tried to crawl, and simply enjoying the comforting rhythm of family life. On one crisp autumn evening, the family's routine took a terrifying turn. Lily had been playing near the sofa, crawling on the soft carpet, exploring her surroundings with innocent curiosity. She was a lively little baby, always moving and reaching for new things. Emma, as always, was nearby, keeping a watchful eye. David had just returned from work, carrying a small bag of groceries. For a brief moment, everything seemed perfectly normal, just like any other evening. Then, without warning, Lily attempted to climb up the side of the sofa. Her tiny hands grasped the edge, but she lost her balance. In what felt like a slow-motion moment, she tumbled awkwardly onto the floor. Emma's heart skipped a beat as she rushed forward, her voice trembling as she called out, "Lily!" At first, Emma thought it might be a simple fall. After all, babies often stumble and fall during play. But when she gently tried to help Lily stand, her heart sank. Lily could not move her legs. They were unresponsive, lying motionless on the carpet. Panic surged through Emma, a wave of fear and disbelief crashing over her. David dropped the groceries in an instant and knelt beside them, his face pale and anxious. He lifted Lily gently into his arms, checking to see if she was hurt anywhere else. Her tiny arms flailed slightly, and she looked at them with confusion, but the legs would not move. The parents immediately called the ambulance. The minutes that followed were filled with dread. Emma held Lily close, trying to calm her, while David kept talking to her softly, trying to keep both Lily and Emma calm. The sirens wailed outside, growing louder as the ambulance approached. When the paramedics arrived, they moved quickly and efficiently, lifting Lily onto a stretcher and rushing her to the emergency room. Every second felt like an eternity. Emma and David followed closely behind, their hearts heavy with worry and fear, unsure of what awaited them at the hospital. In the hospital, doctors and nurses surrounded Lily, checking her reflexes, examining her spine, and asking the parents for details about the accident. Emma's hands shook as she explained exactly what had happened, and David silently prayed for a miracle. After hours of tests, including X-rays and MRI scans, the neurologist came into the room with a serious expression. He asked Emma and David to sit down. Emma's chest tightened, her stomach twisting in anxiety. David gripped her hand, feeling her tremble. The neurologist spoke carefully, choosing his words with a kind but heavy tone. Lily had suffered a severe spinal cord injury, and the prognosis was grim. He explained that the type of injury she had experienced usually left babies with very little chance of recovery. The words pierced the parents' hearts like a cold blade. "She may never walk," the doctor said. "The likelihood of regaining mobility is extremely low." Emma felt her world crumble around her. Tears poured down her face, uncontrolled and unstoppable. David felt a strange numbness, a mix of anger, fear, and helplessness. They stared at their tiny daughter, lying in the hospital crib, so small and vulnerable, unaware of the gravity of her situation. The days that followed were an emotional whirlwind. Emma and David tried to maintain a sense of normalcy, feeding Lily, changing her diapers, and talking to her with love and care. Yet the shadow of despair loomed over every moment. Physical therapy sessions were scheduled, and the therapist worked patiently with Lily, encouraging even the smallest movements. They tried exercises, stretches, and gentle manipulations, hoping to stimulate her muscles and nerves. But despite all efforts, Lily remained paralyzed from the waist down. Each failed attempt felt like another blow to the parents' spirits, and they began to struggle with the overwhelming weight of hopelessness. During this difficult time, one silent observer never left Lily's side. Max, the family's German shepherd, was more than a pet. He had been part of the family for 3 years, a loyal companion who had watched over the Thompsons through thick and thin. Max seemed to sense the sudden tension in the household. Normally playful and energetic, he now stayed close to Lily's crib, lying down quietly, his head resting near her tiny hands. Sometimes he would whine softly, a sound that seemed almost like comfort, as if he knew that the family needed reassurance. Emma noticed that whenever she or David approached Lily, Max would look up at them with eyes full of understanding, a silent plea to hold on, to stay strong. It became apparent that Max had changed his behavior. He no longer ran around the house chasing his favorite toys or barking at the mailman. Instead, he was attentive, calm, and focused entirely on Lily. He would follow Emma around as she prepared meals or adjusted Lily's blanket, always keeping one eye on the baby. David noticed that Max would sometimes nudge Lily gently with his nose, or rest his paw near her tiny feet. The dog's devotion was remarkable. Though Max could not speak, the love he showed seemed to bridge the painful gap that words could not reach. Emma and David began to document every small sign of interaction between Lily and Max. On some mornings, when Lily woke up crying from discomfort or frustration, Max would rush to her side, resting his head against her chest and whining softly. Lily often quieted immediately, her tiny hands reaching out to touch Max's fur. David watched in amazement as the baby's arms twitched slightly, a small but noticeable movement that had not occurred before. Could it be that Max's presence was helping Lily in ways that no one expected? Despite the ongoing therapy and efforts, the Thompsons still faced countless challenges. Daily life was exhausting, emotionally and physically. Nights were long and filled with worry, as Emma and David took turns checking on Lily, ensuring she was comfortable and safe. The thought that their daughter might never walk haunted every moment. Yet through it all, Max never left Lily alone. He was always by her side, a silent guardian who seemed to understand the weight of her struggle. The story of that first terrifying fall, the hospital visits, and the initial diagnosis could have been a tale of hopelessness, but there was something extraordinary in the way Max remained close, offering comfort and protection. He became the bridge between despair and hope, silently encouraging the family to keep going. The Thompsons realized that while the doctor's prognosis was grim, the bond between Lily and Max offered a kind of hope that no medicine could provide. Even in those first days, Emma and David began to notice subtle signs of life in Lily's responses to Max. Her tiny fingers would sometimes curl around his paw. Her eyes followed his movements, and she seemed to respond to his soft nudges. The parents could not explain it, but the presence of their devoted German shepherd seemed to awaken something inside their paralyzed daughter. It was as if Max was telling her, in the way only a loving animal could, that she was not alone, that there was still something to fight for. As the days turned into weeks, the Thompsons clung to this quiet miracle. Every small twitch of Lily's fingers, every moment of eye contact with Max became a reason to keep hope alive. Though the road ahead was uncertain, one thing was clear. Max's love, loyalty, and unwavering devotion had already begun to change the atmosphere of the house. The Thompsons knew that no matter how difficult the journey would be, they had an extraordinary ally in their daughter's struggle, a German shepherd who refused to leave her side, who stayed silently, patiently, and lovingly, showing that even in the darkest moments, hope could be found in the unlikeliest of places. Days turned into weeks, and the Thompson household slowly began to find a rhythm, though life remained far from easy. The initial shock of Lily's accident still hung over them, but a subtle change was beginning to take place. Max, their loyal German shepherd, had become an inseparable part of their lives, especially in the mornings when Lily woke up. Emma would carry Lily from her crib while Max followed closely behind, his large paws patting softly on the carpet, always alert, always attentive. It was clear to the family that Max had taken it upon himself to protect and comfort their little girl, and they began to notice changes in Lily as well, small but significant. Whenever Lily cried in frustration, Max would immediately come to her side. He would nuzzle her cheek, rest his large head near her tiny hands, or lie beside her crib with his body curled protectively around her. At first it seemed like simple companionship, but Emma and David noticed something extraordinary. When Max was close, Lily seemed calmer. Her crying became less intense, and her tiny hands would sometimes reach out to touch his fur. On more than one occasion, her arms twitched slightly in response to his nudges, and her face would light up with a small, almost shy smile. Emma could hardly believe her eyes. She whispered to David one morning as they watched Lily interact with Max, "Look at her. She's responding to him." David, equally amazed, nodded silently, feeling a strange mix of hope and disbelief. How could a dog, no matter how loving, have such an effect? Yet the evidence was undeniable. Max had a unique presence, one that seemed to reach Lily in a way that human hands alone could not. Therapists who visited the home were also intrigued by the bond between Lily and Max. They observed the interactions carefully, noting every small movement and response. During therapy sessions, Max would lie patiently beside Lily, following her every movement. If she struggled with an exercise, Max would gently paw at her or nuzzle her arm as though encouraging her to try again. The therapists began to adapt their routines to include Max, placing him near Lily during exercises and allowing him to provide comfort and support. Slowly, the sessions began to show results. Lily's tiny muscles, once completely unresponsive, began to twitch more frequently. Her legs, though still unable to support her fully, occasionally moved slightly as if testing their strength. It was during these quiet, unassuming moments that the Thompsons began to understand the depth of the connection between Lily and Max. The dog seemed to understand her needs intuitively. He knew when she was frustrated, scared, or tired, and he would respond with gentle encouragement. When Lily's tiny hands fumbled during an exercise, Max would nudge them into position. When her legs refused to move, he would paw at them lightly, almost as if reminding her that she was not alone. The baby in turn responded in ways that surprised even her parents. Sometimes she would follow his movements with her eyes, giggling softly as he wagged his tail or licked her cheek. Other times she would reach for him, her fingers curling around his fur in a delicate, tentative grip. Emma and David found themselves documenting these moments more carefully each day. They began to see patterns emerging. Lily seemed more motivated when Max was nearby. She tolerated longer therapy sessions, tried more exercises, and even smiled through the pain when he was beside her. Her progress, though still slow and fragile, was undeniable. For the first time since the accident, a glimmer of hope appeared on the horizon. The parents felt a strange sense of relief mixed with wonder. How could such a simple presence, a dog lying quietly beside their baby, make such a profound difference? Word of Max's role in Lily's recovery spread among friends and neighbors. Some were skeptical, unable to imagine a pet having such an impact, but those who visited saw it for themselves. They would witness the gentle nudges, the quiet encouragement, the way Lily's face would light up at Max's touch. It became clear that the bond between the baby and her dog was something extraordinary, something that could not be explained by science alone. Even the therapists began to acknowledge it. They would smile during sessions, sometimes wiping tears from their eyes as they watched Lily respond to Max in ways she had never responded to anyone else. The family began to incorporate Max more deliberately into their daily routines. Mornings were spent with him lying beside Lily during her exercises, encouraging her with his quiet, patient presence. Afternoons were for gentle play, where Max would lie on the floor as Lily reached out to him, trying to move her legs or touch his fur. Evenings included story time, with Max resting his head on the edge of Lily's crib as Emma read aloud, his eyes following every word, as if he were listening and understanding every sentence. These moments became sacred, a time when the family could feel hope growing, no matter how slowly. One day during a routine therapy session, a remarkable event occurred. Lily, who had never moved her legs voluntarily, attempted a kick. It was almost imperceptible at first, a tiny twitch that seemed too small to be meaningful. But Max noticed immediately. He barked softly, wagged his tail, and nudged her gently with his nose as if cheering her on. Lily tried again, and again. This time the movement was slightly stronger. Emma and David gasped in amazement, unable to believe what they were witnessing. The therapist, eyes wide, encouraged Lily, noting the significance of the moment. It became evident that Max's presence was more than emotional support. He was an active participant in Lily's recovery. His encouragement seemed to stimulate her muscles and nerves in ways that traditional therapy alone could not. The family began to embrace this new approach, allowing Max to remain at Lily's side during every session. They observed as his patience and devotion inspired small yet meaningful improvements in her condition. Each tiny movement, each twitch of her fingers or legs became a victory worth celebrating. Over time, the bond between Lily and Max deepened further. Max seemed to anticipate her needs before anyone else. He would lie beside her when she was tired, nuzzle her cheek when she was frustrated, and paw at her gently when she needed encouragement. Lily, in turn, seemed to respond with growing confidence. She would reach for Max with increasing determination, giggle at his playful gestures, and follow his movements with wide, curious eyes. The parents marveled at how a dog, so loyal and loving, could play such an essential role in their daughter's journey toward recovery. As weeks turned into months, the Thompsons noticed another subtle change. Lily's body, once stiff and unresponsive, began to relax when Max was near. Her tiny muscles, once frozen with inactivity, responded more frequently. Her legs twitched more often, her arms reached out with more purpose, and her smile became brighter and more consistent. Emma and David felt a renewed sense of determination. They began to see a path forward, one that included not only therapy and medical care, but also the quiet, loving presence of their devoted dog. Even the doctors and therapists acknowledged the unusual progress. They were cautious but impressed, noting that while the physical improvements were slow, they were undeniable. Lily's responses, combined with Max's encouragement, created a unique environment for healing. The Thompsons realized that sometimes miracles do not come from medicine alone. Sometimes they come from loyalty, love, and the quiet strength of a four-legged companion who refuses to leave your side. The household, once filled with despair, now had moments of joy and wonder. Max continued to be a constant presence, a silent guardian whose love and devotion created a safe space for Lily to grow and explore. The parents embraced each small victory, knowing that the journey ahead would still be challenging but feeling hopeful for the first time since the accident. The bond between Lily and Max was no longer just touching, it was transformative. In the quiet evenings, as Emma and David sat together watching Lily and Max, they would often marvel at the extraordinary relationship that had developed. Max would lie on the carpet, his head resting gently near Lily's tiny hands, watching her with patient, loving eyes. Lily, in turn, would reach out to him, giggling softly as he nudged her gently with his nose. The sight filled the room with a sense of hope and possibility, a reminder that even in the darkest times, love and companionship can light the way forward. The Thompsons learned an invaluable lesson through these weeks. Progress, no matter how small, is still progress. Hope, even in the face of a grim diagnosis, can be nurtured through love and patience. And sometimes the most unlikely heroes, the ones with fur, four legs, and unwavering devotion, can make the impossible seem just a little more possible. Max had become more than a pet. He had become an essential part of Lily's journey, a guide, a companion, and a source of endless encouragement. Through these early months, the Thompsons came to understand that healing is not just physical. It is emotional, psychological, and deeply personal. Max provided all of these elements without saying a single word. His presence alone seemed to give Lily a reason to try, a reason to fight, and a reason to smile. And for Emma and David, witnessing this connection was nothing short of a miracle. The days passed with small victories, each one more meaningful than the last. Lily's tiny kicks, her tentative arm movements, and her growing smiles were proof that progress was possible, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. Max remained steadfast by her side, a symbol of loyalty and love. And the months that followed were filled with small victories and quiet miracles, moments that often went unnoticed by the world but were monumental to the Thompsons. Lily continued her therapy sessions every day, each one guided by the patient and unwavering presence of Max, their German shepherd. What had started as mere comfort had turned into something extraordinary. Max was no longer just beside Lily. He had become her silent teacher, a source of encouragement, and a steady companion who seemed to understand exactly what she needed. Even when words failed, one particular morning, as sunlight poured softly through the living room window, Emma and David prepared Lily for her daily exercises. The little girl, dressed in a soft pastel onesie, sat on a padded mat with Max lying patiently next to her. The dog's head rested gently on his paws, but his eyes followed every tiny movement Lily made. It was a routine that had become sacred for the family, a time of hope, patience, and determination. Lily reached out her tiny hands, trying to grip the edge of a therapy bar placed in front of her. Max, sensing her hesitation, nudged her gently with his nose, almost as if saying, "You can do it." Emma and David held their breath as Lily made a small effort to move her legs. At first it was only a twitch, barely noticeable, but then, slowly, she tried again. Max barked softly, a sound that was more like a cheer than an alarm, and wagged his tail with excitement. Encouraged by him, Lily pushed a little harder. To everyone's astonishment, her tiny legs lifted slightly off the mat. It was not much, but it was the first voluntary movement they had seen in weeks. Emma's hands trembled as she clutched David's, tears filling her eyes. "She did it," she whispered, her voice shaking with a mixture of disbelief and joy. David nodded, barely able to speak, his heart swelling with hope he had almost forgotten existed. This small breakthrough marked a turning point in Lily's journey. From that day onward, each therapy session became more purposeful. Max, fully aware of his role, seemed to take the task seriously. He would lie at Lily's side during exercises, offering gentle nudges and encouragement. When she struggled, he would paw at her, his soft eyes full of reassurance. Lily, in response, began to show signs of determination. She would reach out for him, giggle at his playful gestures, and occasionally mimic his movements by kicking her legs slightly. The therapists, who had been skeptical at first, now watched in amazement. They had witnessed many cases of children recovering from injuries, but none quite like this. Emma and David could hardly contain their emotions. Each small improvement was a victory, a proof that progress, no matter how slow, was possible. They began documenting every movement, every twitch, and every smile, knowing that these moments were precious. Max's role was central. Without him, the progress might never have occurred. It became clear to the family that this was more than therapy or luck. This was a bond, an extraordinary connection that was slowly bringing Lily back to life. One afternoon, during a particularly focused session, something remarkable happened. Lily had been practicing standing exercises with her legs supported by small cushions and therapy bars. Max lay beside her, his head gently resting on the mat, eyes fixed on her with unwavering attention. Lily struggled to lift her legs, her tiny muscles trembling with effort. Max barked softly, nudged her legs with his nose, and shifted his body to provide support. The tiniest spark of movement appeared, and then, with repeated encouragement, Lily managed to lift one leg completely off the cushion. Emma and David gasped. The therapist rushed to support Lily, helping her balance, but the significance of the moment was undeniable. This was the first voluntary lift of her leg, a step, however small, toward recovery. News of these tiny miracles spread among friends and neighbors, who came to witness Lily's progress firsthand. They marveled at the bond between the baby and Max. It was clear that the dog had an intuitive understanding of Lily's needs, something no one could explain. Max's patience, his gentle encouragement, and his unwavering presence were transforming not only Lily's physical abilities, but also her spirit. She laughed more often, showed determination, and developed a sense of confidence she had never had since the accident. The family also began to notice changes in their own emotions. Where there had once been despair, now there was hope. Max had become a bridge, connecting Lily's fragile body with the possibility of recovery. Emma and David's exhaustion was replaced by renewed energy as they watched each small success unfold. They began to share their story with others, hoping that it might inspire families facing similar challenges. Every twitch of Lily's fingers, every kick of her tiny legs, and every smile shared with Max became a testament to resilience, patience, and the incredible bond between humans and animals. As weeks passed, Lily's progress accelerated, though still carefully and slowly. Her legs moved more often, and she began to attempt small shifts in position without assistance. Max's encouragement was a constant factor, always patient, never impatient or frustrated. Emma noticed that when Max was near, Lily's muscles seemed to respond more effectively to therapy. Her tiny legs would lift higher, her arms would reach further, and her balance improved gradually. The therapists began to integrate Max into more exercises, including standing support, gentle leg stretches, and balance activities. Each session became a coordinated effort between human guidance and canine support. The emotional impact of these milestones was immense. Emma and David often found themselves crying, overwhelmed with gratitude and joy. The house, once filled with the tension and anxiety of injury and uncertainty, now resonated with laughter, love, and the gentle presence of a devoted dog. Max, seemingly aware of his role, would respond to the parents' emotions, offering comfort when they were sad and sharing in their joy when Lily achieved another milestone. One particularly memorable day, Lily attempted to reach for a small toy placed just beyond her grasp. She stretched her tiny arms, her fingers trembling, her face full of determination. Max nudged her gently, moving closer to encourage her. After a few attempts, Lily managed to grasp the toy with both hands. She held it triumphantly, looking at Max with bright eyes and a radiant smile. Emma and David erupted with emotion, hugging each other while tears streamed down their faces. It was a simple achievement, but it symbolized the profound impact of love, patience, and unwavering support. The family realized that Max's influence extended beyond therapy. He had become Lily's emotional anchor, providing a sense of security and motivation that allowed her to face challenges with courage. His presence made therapy enjoyable rather than frightening. Lily looked forward to sessions because Max was there, waiting, encouraging, and celebrating each effort. This bond, built on trust and love, became the cornerstone of her recovery. Even the doctors began to notice the extraordinary progress. They were cautious in their optimism, but acknowledged the undeniable changes in Lily's abilities. The combination of traditional therapy and Max's companionship had created a unique healing environment. Emma and David felt a mixture of relief, gratitude, and awe. They understood that miracles are not always dramatic or immediate. Sometimes they are quiet, patient, and persistent, like the gentle encouragement of a loyal dog. As part 3 of their journey unfolded, the family learned to appreciate the small victories. Each twitch, each kick, each smile was a step forward, a sign that hope was not lost. Max had become more than a pet. He was a partner in healing, a guide in recovery, and a source of unconditional love. The Thompsons knew that the road ahead was still long and filled with challenges, but they also knew that with Max by Lily's side, nothing was truly impossible. In the evenings, after therapy sessions and daily routines, the family would sit together, watching Lily interact with Max. She would reach for him, giggle at his playful gestures, and follow his movements with growing confidence. Max, in turn, remained patient and attentive, offering gentle nudges and quiet encouragement. These moments, simple yet profound, were a testament to the power of love, loyalty, and the unbreakable bond between a child and her dog. The Thompsons began to dream again. They imagined a future where Lily could walk, play, and explore without limitation. They imagined her laughing freely, chasing after Max in the yard, and living a life full of joy and possibility. And while they knew the journey would require patience, hard work, and dedication, they also knew that they had an extraordinary ally in Max. His unwavering presence had already transformed their lives and given them a reason to hope when hope had seemed lost. Through the early months of Lily's recovery, it became clear that progress, no matter how small, was significant. Each movement, each smile, each moment of connection with Max represented a step toward healing. The family learned to celebrate these milestones, no matter how tiny, understanding that the journey of recovery is not measured solely by leaps and bounds, but also by quiet, persistent effort and love. By the end of this period, Lily's condition had improved more than anyone could have expected. She was still paralyzed to some extent, but her muscles were responding, her spirit was strong, and her determination was growing. Max's presence was central to this transformation. He had become her silent motivator, her protector, and her companion in every sense of the word. For Emma and David, witnessing this bond in the Prague, the months passed slowly yet steadily, and the Thompsons began to notice changes in Lily that once would have seemed impossible. Her determination was growing, her tiny body responding more and more to the gentle encouragement of Max, their devoted German shepherd. Every morning, as sunlight streamed through the living room window, the family gathered for therapy sessions, which had now become part of their daily rhythm. Max lay beside Lily, always alert, always patient, as he had been since the very first days after the accident. One particularly crisp morning, Emma prepared Lily for exercises on the padded mat in the living room. The baby was bundled in soft, comfortable clothing, and her bright eyes looked up at her mother with a hint of curiosity and determination. Max positioned himself beside her, resting his head lightly on his paws, but his eyes followed every movement she made. Today something felt different. Emma noticed a spark in Lily's gaze, a quiet confidence that had been building over weeks of hard work, small victories, and Max's unwavering presence. David carefully guided Lily through her warm-up stretches. She had learned to lift her legs slightly with Max's encouragement, and today he seemed more eager than ever to assist her. As Lily attempted to push her legs against the therapy bars, Max nudged her gently with his nose as if cheering her on. Encouraged, she tried again. This time her leg lifted higher, holding the position for a few seconds before dropping back to the mat. Emma's eyes filled with tears as she watched, and David whispered softly, "Look at her. She's doing it." Max barked softly, wagging his tail as if celebrating the achievement with the family. This small success sparked a chain of motivation. Lily became more engaged in her exercises, responding to Max's presence with growing determination. She would reach for him, giggle when he nudged her, and occasionally attempt small kicks without any direct assistance. The therapists, who had been observing these sessions carefully, began to incorporate Max more actively. They encouraged Lily to practice standing with his support nearby, to try simple steps while Max stayed at her side, and to use her newfound strength in controlled exercises that built balance and coordination. One afternoon, something extraordinary happened. Lily had been practicing standing exercises with the help of small supports and Max by her side. Her legs had been gradually gaining strength, but she had never stood fully on her own, even with assistance. Today, however, the determination in her eyes was unmistakable. Emma and David positioned her carefully, supporting her torso while Max lay directly in front of her, ready to provide encouragement. Lily's tiny legs trembled, her muscles straining with effort. Max barked softly, nudging her gently with his nose, and wagged his tail in excitement. For the first time, Lily lifted herself into a standing position with Max nearby. She wobbled slightly, but she remained upright for a few precious seconds. Emma gasped, covering her mouth with her hands, tears streaming down her face. David held his head in disbelief, his eyes wide with joy. The therapist rushed forward to offer additional support, but the significance of the moment was clear. Lily had taken a huge step forward in her recovery, aided and inspired by her loyal companion. Max barked again, tail wagging furiously, as if he knew the magnitude of what had just happened. From that moment on, every therapy session became a celebration of small but meaningful victories. Lily's confidence grew alongside her physical strength. She attempted to take small steps while Max encouraged her with gentle nudges and soft barks. Emma and David documented every movement, every laugh, every gesture of progress. The house, once filled with tension and worry, now resonated with hope, joy, and a renewed sense of purpose. Max remained at the center of it all, his patient presence transforming ordinary therapy into something extraordinary. One evening, as the family gathered for dinner, Emma reflected on the incredible journey so far. She watched Lily crawl slowly toward Max, her tiny hands reaching for his fur. Max nudged her gently, lying down to allow her to climb on him slightly, creating a playful and supportive interaction that brought laughter to everyone in the room. "I can't believe how far she's come," Emma whispered, her voice filled with awe. David nodded, squeezing her hand. "And we owe so much to Max," he replied softly. "He's more than a pet. He's her guide, her supporter, and her friend." As the weeks passed, Lily's progress continued to surprise everyone. She began attempting more controlled movements, guided by Max's encouragement. Her muscles responded more consistently, and she began to show signs of balance and coordination that had seemed impossible just months earlier. Even small milestones like reaching for toys, shifting positions on the mat, or attempting to kick her legs independently became reasons for celebration. Max was always there, lying beside her, providing quiet encouragement, nudging her gently and responding to her efforts with soft barks and tail wags. The family noticed a profound emotional change as well. Lily's confidence and determination grew alongside her physical recovery. She began smiling more frequently, laughing during exercises, and even showing excitement when Max approached. The bond between Lily and Max had transformed her, providing not only physical support but emotional strength. Emma and David realized that Max's presence was a key factor in her progress, a source of motivation and comfort that no human intervention alone could provide. One pivotal day, Lily attempted something remarkable. She had been practicing standing with Max nearby, and today she managed to take a few tentative steps with his encouragement. Max stayed close, adjusting his position as needed, nudging her gently with his nose and offering quiet support. Emma and David watched in awe as their daughter moved across the room, her tiny legs trembling but steadily gaining strength. Tears streamed down their faces as they witnessed the miraculous moment. Max barked softly, wagging his tail as if celebrating alongside them, understanding the magnitude of Lily's achievement. This breakthrough marked a turning point. The family, therapists, and even the doctors began to see tangible results from the combined effort of therapy and Max's unwavering support. Lily's tiny body, once paralyzed, was beginning to respond to consistent encouragement, patience, and love. Each step, each movement, each attempt at independence became a milestone, a symbol of hope and resilience. Max remained at the center, his loyalty and patience proving to be an essential component of her recovery. Emma and David found themselves overwhelmed with gratitude and emotion. They had faced unimaginable challenges, from the initial accident to the uncertain prognosis. Yet through it all, Max had remained a constant source of hope. The family realized that sometimes the greatest miracles are not sudden or dramatic but slow, quiet, and steady, like the gentle encouragement of a devoted dog helping a paralyzed child take her first steps toward recovery. Even in moments of frustration, when progress seemed slow or setbacks occurred, Max remained patient. His presence provided comfort and motivation, reminding Lily that she was not alone. Emma and David learned to cherish these moments, understanding that recovery was as much about emotional strength as it was about physical ability. Max offered both in abundance, creating an environment where Lily could thrive and grow. By the end of this period, Lily's progress had reached a level that astonished everyone who witnessed it. She could stand with support, attempt small steps, and engage actively in her therapy sessions. Her laughter filled the house. Her determination inspired her parents, and her bond with Max became a source of endless joy and hope. The Thompsons knew that the journey was far from over, but they also knew that with Max by her side, nothing was impossible. The family reflected on how much they had learned during this journey. They realized that love, patience, and encouragement could achieve what medicine alone sometimes could not. Max had become more than a pet. He was a teacher, a companion, a motivator, and a hero. His presence had transformed Lily's recovery, turning despair into hope and helplessness into determination. In quiet moments, Emma and David would watch Lily and Max together, seeing the extraordinary bond that had formed. Lily would reach for him, giggle at his playful gestures, and occasionally attempt small movements to follow his lead. Max, in turn, remained patient, offering gentle encouragement, never forcing, never retreating, and always supporting her efforts. These simple yet profound interactions were the foundation of her continued recovery, and the Thompsons knew that they had witnessed something truly miraculous. The story of Lily's journey, guided and inspired by Max, became a testament to resilience, hope, and the transformative power of love. Each small step forward was proof that miracles do happen, even in the most unlikely circumstances. And through it all, Max remained steadfast, his unwavering loyalty and gentle encouragement leading Lily on the path toward a future full of possibility, laughter, and freedom. Months had passed since the accident, and the Thompson household was now filled with a sense of cautious optimism and quiet joy. Lily had come a long way from the fragile, paralyzed baby they had once feared would never move again. Her body, once unresponsive, was now showing remarkable progress. Her muscles had strengthened. Her movements were more deliberate, and her determination seemed boundless. Every day she practiced standing, balancing, and taking small steps, often with the encouragement and companionship of Max, the family's devoted German shepherd. Max had become more than a pet. He was Lily's guide, her motivator, and her constant support, silently urging her to try just a little harder. One morning, as the first rays of sunlight streamed through the living room window, Emma and David prepared Lily for her therapy session. She was eager and alert, her eyes bright with determination. Max positioned himself at her side, lying down quietly but watching her every movement. Today felt different. There was an energy in the room, a feeling that something extraordinary might happen. The family could sense it, and even the therapists who had been carefully observing Lily's progress seemed excited and hopeful. Lily began her exercises, guided by her parents and therapist. She reached for the therapy bar, gripping it tightly with her small hands. Max nudged her gently, his eyes encouraging her to focus, to try harder, and to trust her own strength. She lifted her legs, trembling slightly, and for the first time, she tried to take a small step with Max at her side. Her foot moved forward, wobbling but intentional. Emma and David held their breath, tears welling in their eyes as they watched this tiny miracle unfold. Max barked softly, wagging his tail in excitement as if he too understood the significance of the moment. With repeated encouragement from Max, Lily tried again, taking another small step, then another. Each movement, though slow and unsteady, was filled with determination and courage. Emma and David could hardly believe their eyes. The baby who had once been paralyzed was now attempting to walk, guided by her loyal companion. The therapists, usually reserved and professional, allowed themselves to cheer quietly, amazed at the progress. Max stayed close, nudging her legs gently, offering support with every movement. It was a moment of triumph, a culmination of months of effort, patience, and unwavering love. As the days continued, Lily's confidence and strength grew. She practiced walking with Max beside her, sometimes holding on to him for balance, sometimes taking small steps independently, while he stayed near for support. Emma and David documented each new milestone, knowing that these moments were extraordinary. The living room, once a place of fear and uncertainty, had become a space of hope, laughter, and celebration. Lily's determination inspired everyone around her, showing that with patience, love, and encouragement, even the most daunting obstacles could be overcome. The bond between Lily and Max deepened further. Max seemed to understand her needs intuitively. When she struggled with balance, he would shift his body to provide support. When she became frustrated, he would nuzzle her face or paw gently at her hands, calming her and giving her the courage to try again. Lily, in turn, responded with smiles, laughter, and determination. She learned to rely on him not only as a source of physical support, but also as a source of emotional strength. Max had become her silent cheerleader, celebrating every achievement and comforting her during moments of difficulty. One memorable afternoon, Lily attempted to walk across the living room without any physical support, with Max trotting slightly ahead, guiding her path. She took small, deliberate steps, her face focused but radiant with determination. Emma and David watched in awe, holding each other's hands, tears streaming down their faces. This was the moment they had dreamed of, the culmination of months of dedication, therapy, and the extraordinary bond between their daughter and their loyal dog. Max barked softly in excitement, wagging his tail furiously, celebrating alongside the family. The progress was not just physical, it was emotional as well. Lily's laughter filled the house, her joy and curiosity returning in full force. She explored her surroundings with confidence, often chasing after Max or attempting new movements. Her personality, once subdued by the trauma of her injury, blossomed again. Emma and David noticed that Lily's interactions with Max were filled with genuine affection, playfulness, and trust. The dog had not only supported her physically but had also nurtured her spirit, giving her the courage to embrace life fully once more. Therapists and doctors continued to monitor Lily's progress. Amazed by the combination of consistent therapy and Max's unwavering support, they noted that the psychological and emotional impact of having a devoted companion was profound. Lily's motivation, confidence, and resilience had increased significantly, and her physical improvements reflected this. The family realized that Max had played a crucial role in her recovery, providing the encouragement and reassurance that allowed her to reach milestones they had once thought impossible. As time went on, Lily's abilities continued to grow. She could stand independently for longer periods, take more confident steps, and participate in more challenging exercises. Max remained by her side, offering gentle guidance and support. Emma and David marveled at the transformation. The baby who had once seemed hopelessly paralyzed was now active, engaged, and full of life. Her laughter, once rare, now filled the home, and her determination inspired everyone who witnessed it. The family also noticed the profound emotional bond that had developed between Lily and Max. He was not just a pet or a therapy companion. He was a friend, a protector, and a source of unconditional love. Lily responded to his presence in ways that went beyond physical recovery. She showed empathy, joy, and affection, learning the importance of connection, trust, and loyalty. Max had taught her in the most gentle and patient way that she was never alone, and that love and perseverance could overcome even the most difficult challenges. One particularly special day, Lily managed to walk across the living room completely independently, with Max following closely but without any physical support. Her tiny feet moved with determination, her eyes focused and bright. Emma and David watched, unable to contain their emotions. They embraced each other, crying tears of joy and relief. Max barked softly, wagging his tail as if acknowledging the monumental achievement. The moment was more than a milestone. It was a triumph of hope, love, and the extraordinary bond between a child and her dog. The story of Lily's journey became a testament to resilience, patience, and the power of love. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers who heard about her progress were inspired by the remarkable recovery and the devotion of Max. The Thompsons shared their story widely, hoping to encourage other families facing challenges, showing that miracles could happen in the most unexpected ways. Max had become a symbol of hope, loyalty, and the transformative power of unconditional love. As Lily continued to grow stronger, her parents reflected on the journey that had brought them here. They remembered the early days of fear and despair, the long nights in the hospital, and the countless therapy sessions that had seemed endless. They remembered the quiet moments when Max had stayed close to Lily, offering comfort and encouragement. And now, as they watched their daughter take confident steps, laugh freely, and interact joyfully with the world, they realized that the greatest miracles often come in the form of love, patience, and unwavering support. The Thompsons also noticed how this journey had changed them. Emma and David had learned to cherish every moment, to celebrate every small victory, and to appreciate the extraordinary power of connection and companionship. Max had taught them lessons about loyalty, patience, and unconditional love, showing them that hope could thrive even in the darkest of times. By the end of this chapter in their lives, Lily had regained much of her mobility. She could walk short distances independently, participate actively in her therapy, and explore her surroundings with curiosity and joy. Max remained her faithful companion, guiding her, encouraging her, and celebrating every step of her journey. The bond between them was unbreakable, a living testament to the power of love, patience, and unwavering support. The family often spent evenings together in the living room, watching Lily interact with Max. She would reach for him, giggle at his playful gestures, and follow his movements across the room. Max, in turn, remained patient, attentive, and loving, offering encouragement whenever it was needed. These moments were filled with joy, gratitude, and a sense of wonder at what had been achieved. Through this journey, the Thompsons learned that miracles are not always sudden or dramatic. Sometimes they are quiet, patient, and persistent, like the gentle encouragement of a loyal dog guiding a paralyzed child back to life. Max had not only helped Lily regain physical mobility, but had also nurtured her spirit, teaching her the importance of perseverance, trust, and love. As they watched Lily take her small but confident steps, Emma whispered to David, "Look at her. She's stronger than we ever imagined." David nodded, tears in his eyes, and replied, "And we couldn't have done it without Max." Max, lying nearby, seemed to understand, resting his head on his paws and looking up at Lily with eyes full of pride and affection. The story ended not with grand declarations or dramatic miracles, but with the quiet trio